Welcome to The World This Week. With me in the studio is Christopher Dickey, the foreign editor for The Daily Beast, and will hopefully be crossing live to our Nairobi correspondent, Julia Steers, a little later. Hello first, Christopher. Thank you for being with us.
Pleasure to be here, Nadia.
Now, our first theme this Friday is the ever-escalating row between Washington and Pyongyang over North Korea's missile testing and nuclear ambitions. As I said, the latest salvo has come from US President Donald Trump, who issued a Twitter warning that, quote, military solutions are now fully in place, locked and loaded, should North Korea act unwisely. Well, the northern regime maintains it's preparing a plan to fire off 4 missiles towards the island of Guam. Christopher Dickey, what's your take of this? Is it more than just big talk?
No, it is big talk. It's dangerous talk, and also it's a situation where things could go wildly wrong very quickly. I think we ought to take seriously the North Korean threat, but I think we ought to understand what it is. It's not to attack Guam. It's to send missiles around Guam to show that it could attack Guam. And that's the kind of thing where if one hits Guam, or even if they are flying toward Guam, where there's a substantial American military presence, then what happens? The U.S. can fire off anti-missile missiles. We see that going. So all of a sudden we have an exchange of fire, and a lot can go wrong once the shooting starts.
Now, there have been reports this Friday of long-standing back-channel talks. Is that a more realistic view of what's actually happening here?
No, I don't think it's more realistic, and it isn't clear that there's very much happening in those back-channel talks. I think the point of the story, I think it was a Reuters story, no, it was AP, about these back-channel talks is that they do exist. But sure, there are always some kind of back-channel talks. The question is, what do you get out of it? Certainly, it has not lowered the level of rhetoric.
And can Pyongyang really afford to go to war at this stage? I mean, can it go further than these threats?
Trump or
Pyongyang.
Pyongyang. I don't think he wants to go to war. He wants to make it clear that there would be a cost if anyone goes to war with him. You know, we act as if his design is to attack America. I don't think that's the case. His design is to convince America that there will never be any percentage for it if it attacks Pyongyang. And that then allows him to intimidate Seoul. That's his goal. South Korea. He's not out to conquer Los Angeles or even to bomb it or send a missile to it. He is out to conquer the southern part of the peninsula. He's nowhere near able to do that now, but if he can force the Americans to back off, then he might be able to intimidate the South in a way that he would like to do.
And is it perhaps, does it boil down to a case of the US and South Korea perhaps having to accept that Pyongyang is and will be a nuclear power like it did for China?
Yeah, the question is, can North Korea be deterred? In order to accept another nuclear power, you have to accept that the regime is rational and doesn't want to invite its own destruction. That was the case with the Soviet Union in the Cold War. It is with Russia now, certainly is with China. We don't seem to be bothered very much by Pakistan and India's nuclear weapons because they're trained on each other. And they have mutual deterrence. The question with North Korea is it such an insane regime that at some moment when it has the weapon, it might use it? Personally, I don't think it's that crazy. But if you were Donald Trump and it were put to you, are you ready to sacrifice the capital of South Korea, which is terribly vulnerable, in order to go to war and make sure that you'll never have to sacrifice Los Angeles or New York or Washington? Well, if it's put to him like that, what's his answer going to be? That's why the real danger here is a preventive or a preemptive attack by the United States.
Is the real danger Trump?
Trump and I think American policy. You know, I think any American president would be hard-pressed to accept a regime like Kim Jong-un's regime having nuclear weapons that could reach the continental United States, or even Guam for that matter. And the question is, how do you stop that from happening? The idea is that you have a combination of diplomacy and threats, which is really what we're seeing now, except with a very high-pitched level of rhetoric, thanks to President Trump, or you actually go to war. And I think we need to remember that when this first came up in even a much more theoretical way in 1994, we were within weeks, if not days, of going to war with North Korea and sacrificing tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of lives in South Korea if we were to do that. So this is an extremely dangerous situation.
Now, China has been calling again this Friday to both sides to remain calm. Have we perhaps overestimated China's influence on Pyongyang?
No, I think China sent one very interesting and important signal on today, as a matter of fact, in the Global Times, one of its publications, where it said if North Korea attacks the United States, uses missiles to attack the United States, and the U.S. goes to war with North Korea, China will remain neutral. That has to be a very powerful message to Kim Jong-un. If you think you're going to drag us into a war with the United States, you'd better think again. That is not going to happen. And if he does go to war with the United States, if North Korea does this, then it will be annihilated. And that is essentially what Trump is saying.
And Russia's been also speaking out this Friday. Could it have a role to play in this?
Well, Russia, I think people don't realize, but Russia actually borders North Korea. And it has, in various ways, supported the Kim Jong-un regime over the years. But I don't think it's going to play a major role in this. Perhaps, I mean, maybe President Trump, who seems to think that Vladimir Putin is the world's greatest leader, maybe he'll rely on him to help him on this matter. But I don't think, in fact, Putin has much influence on Kim Jong-un.
OK, well, let's move on now to our second theme, that being the polls in Kenya. 10 years after post-election unrest left almost 1,200 people dead and hundreds of thousands displaced, tensions have been mounting as the country's election commission repeatedly delayed the announcement of the outcome for Tuesday's vote. According to earlier partial results, President Uhuru Kenyatta has comfortably secured re-election. And after repeated allegations of vote rigging, the opposition coalition announced that it would accept the outcome if given access to the Electoral Commission's computer servers, before then stating that it would not be party to the results announcement, slamming it as a, quote, charade. Well, to tell us about this, we can cross now to our Nairobi correspondent, Julia Steers. Julia, hello, thank you for being with us.
No.
It's been a tense week. We're still waiting for those results. Is everything being done to avoid a repeat of the 2007 violence?
Well, definitely both parties have urged calm, but there are worrisome signs from the opposition party. We're here at the tallying center right now. There's a lot of excitement you can see behind me. We're expecting results at any minute. Now, it's important to note that Odinga's party just recently said that they would not be a party to these results. They also said that they would not take their grievances to court, which has made many people worried here that their supporters will take their grievances to the streets and perhaps risk backsliding into the unrest that Kenya experienced 10 years ago. So right now, it's a tense moment inside the tallying center. It's a tense moment throughout Nairobi and throughout all of the country.
And I understand you're with a guest, Julia?
Yes, we're here with Anne, who is a manager at the Electoral Commission. She's been working hard all day, verifying results, talking about results. Anne, can you tell me what's been behind the wait? What have you been doing all day to get us ready for this moment that we're about to see now?
No, we have been receiving forms from returning officers, result forms, and trying to compute results from the forms, and a lot of paperwork trying to verify and validate the results as sent to us, and then computing so that we get the aggregates for announcing the winner of these elections.
And when can we expect results?
In a few minutes' time, maybe less than half an hour from now.
And what's been behind the delay today? We expected them earlier today, maybe around 2 p.m., 6 hours later. We're still waiting. So have there been delays, or has it just been the usual tallying and paperwork?
I think it's usual tallying because this country is diverse. It has diversity in geographical diversity and other challenges. So when returning officers have to finish the results, 6 elective positions. It's important to know that Kenya has 6 elective positions, and before a returning officer would probably finish all of them and then be in a position to transmit the presidential results, and then announce as winners at the grassroots, then it would definitely take time. And I would say it's a record time that they have taken as returning officers, because this country's law says that you give the Electoral Commission has 7 days to announce results. This is the 3rd day. So we can say that we have done tremendously very well.
That's true. We're getting results earlier this year than we have in previous elections, for sure. Are you nervous about the claims that NASA has made? They're saying that they will not be a party to these results that the IEBC is announcing. Do you think that makes the results less legitimate to the people here watching?
No, it doesn't make the results less legitimate, because the results are simple. The method is verifiable, and somebody can see how we came up with the final figures. So we have a simple and verifiable method of calculating results. So, and it is coming all over from every country, from every part of this country. From IBC as a referee, it doesn't worry us. We don't think that it brings down any credibility. As far as it doesn't bring down the credibility of the electoral results for this general election.
And NASA has said that they will accept defeat only if they're given access to your servers, to the IEBC's servers. Mm-hmm. Is this something that the IEBC is able to share with the parties?
Now we have given them access to all the forms and all the information in the IEBC servers. We have given them a link where they can download, or they can see all the forms. And we have a public portal also where they can see all the forms and all the data as it comes streaming. So I think we have done what we are supposed to do as an electoral commission.
Okay, thanks very much. So you've heard it from Anne. She's confident in the results and confident that the opposition party, despite their claims, has everything that they need to accept the results of the election, which will be announced here soon.
Julia Steers, thank you very much for that, and thank you also to your guest. Christopher, let me turn to you for a last question. On Kenya, these results, even before they are announced, being already rejected by the opposition coalition, as we've heard. But results being rejected isn't exactly something that you only see in Africa, is it?
Well, no, it's not. I mean, one of the things that is really disturbing about what's happened in the United States, and to some extent in Europe, but certainly in the United States, is that the legitimacy of elections is being called into question again and again. If you'll remember, Donald Trump was very clear that if he lost, he was going to challenge the results and say, no, I wasn't fair, I shouldn't have lost. He would have been more or less like Odinga here in the Kenyan elections. And all of that says to people, your vote doesn't really matter. It's all just a cynical game in which various people manipulate computers, manipulate the results, and the end result is what somebody else wants it to be, not what the voters want it to be.
Worrying stuff. Chris Whittick, thank you very much for having been with us. That's where we're leaving this edition of The World This Week. Thank you for watching.